Is there anything more intimidating to a parent than imagining what it's going to have to be like someday when you have to talk to your kids about sex?
Yikes.
It feels like that's like the long dreaded thing about parenting. And here's the thing, it doesn't need to be.
Right.
Because, sort of like the thing about spiders, right? You're way more afraid of talking to your kids about sex than they are about hearing about sex. Unless you let the fear get the better of you and you wait until they already have figured it all out from their friends. Don't do that. Don't be afraid. Dive right in. That's what we're going to talk about today on Marriage by Design.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Before we jump into today's show, I wanted to ask you to check out our website, brand new website, marriagebydesignpodcast.com. That's marriagebydesignpodcast.com. All of our episodes are available there on that website. Love to have you pop over there, follow us there, and check it out.
If you have a topic that you're wanting more information on or you have questions about, you can search on our website by topic, which is a really great feature.
That's right. And more than anything, guys, please share this with someone that would find it meaningful for them. Without any more delay, let's get to the show. Hi, everybody. I'm Nathan Warnock.
I'm Andrea Warnock, and you've joined us for the Marriage by Design podcast, a time where we talk to you about God's design for marriage, what the Bible has to say about that, and how we live that out practically. And today, we're talking less about marriage and more about sex in marriage.
Because those two aren't even the same. Like there's sex.
No,
and
they're
there's marriage.
so different. No, we're talking about how to talk to your kids about sex. So it's
Right.
less of I'm just saying it's less of a like you and me in our marriage kind of thing, but
It's
trying
gonna
to
be you
set,
and me.
but really Nathan is gold at the way he does this. And really he's trying to set up this whole conversation with our kids in a way that is honoring to their future marriage, our kids' marriage in the future, and helping them to really start thinking about sex, not just as what it actually is, but the importance of it in our lives in the context of marriage.
Right. So really, I want to break this episode into really two parts. And they're not halves because the first one might take us 5 minutes to talk about, and then we're going to get into the meat of it. But here's the two things we have to get right in order to effectively speak with our kids about marriage. The first part
About
of it,
sex.
About sex. The first part, although I would lump marriage in with this too, but yes, about sex. The first thing is we just have to establish credibility with our kids about talking to them. And then the second part is with regards to speaking with our kids about sex, we have to get the timing right and we have to get the tone right in order for it to be meaningful to them. In that order of priority, I would say. So the first thing that I want to talk about, just for maybe 5 or so minutes, babe, is just talking to our kids, period. And that sounds probably like a weird thing, but it's amazing to me how many young people, and our oldest is 15. We approached him about sex when he was 9. Our daughter is now 10, and we're going to be speaking with her about this exact topic later this very week. So it's kind of on our brains right now anyway. But my point in saying that is I speak with a lot of my 15-year-olds friends, not about sex, but about just various life topics, and I realize how many of my son's friends, and these are friends that are within the quote-unquote Christian bubble, who have almost zero ongoing relational intimacy with their parents. Like, I'm sure they love their parents, but I'm talking about the ability to sit down with your children and say, hey, tell me about your life. the ability to talk about things that are going to elicit emotion. When's the last time, if you have children, that your child shed a tear in front of you? That your child showed anger in front of you that wasn't directed at you? Like, when's the last time we allowed ourselves to be emotionally transparent with our kids? And here's the main point, and this is why this first one isn't going to take very long. If you're listening to this, or maybe you skipped by it initially and have gone back, or maybe it started playing in your feed by mistake automatically, here's the thing I want you to know. If you don't have children yet at an age where you can talk to them about sex, they're at the perfect age to start figuring out how to have open and honest conversation with them. Like, I don't know as parents that we do a very good job of pursuing relationship with our kids when they're 3, 4, 5, 6. Because psychologically, it's been shown that that's when we establish credibility with our kids. Mm-hmm. So those times when they want to tell you about this make-believe friend that they just built a mud fort with in the back, corner of your yard, and you're going, yeah, babe, that's great. Oh, that's great. While you're flipping through your phone or cooking dinner or whatever, and you're not stopping to say like, oh my gosh, tell me about that. Like, what was that like? What was fun about that? Asking some questions, playing along with them when they're playing. That's so important at those young ages to establish that you care.
Yeah. And not only that, but pursuing them in conversation. So, pursuing them with age appropriate, deep conversation, and really just spending time with them, not even having conversation, but we have to be spending time with our kids in order for them to want to develop that deep relationship with us. And that can be hard to do in our modern age, but it's something that is so important to stop all things to just spend time, whether that's face to face, shoulder to shoulder, but intentional time with them. And we have found with our kids, one of the ways that we can help in, creating that credibility and just creating the depth of conversation is really telling them our hearts on things too. Not just, tell me about you.
That's right.
Tell me about you. But I tell my kids the things that I'm struggling with. If there's deep
within
things,
reason.
Right. If there's deep things that they shouldn't, I don't tell them about what I'm struggling in my marriage, but
no, but even I would say some of your deeper,
definitely with
things that you tell them age appropriate things you struggle with.
Right.
Is what
I'm not expecting them to solve anything for me. I'm not telling them to burden them. I'm telling them, totally age appropriate things that, just so they can see me as a human being with emotions too, that has problems as well, and that has hurts and joys. I tell them the exciting things too, and that I have things that I like to talk about, and that I can think deeply about my own feelings. And so it's kind of modeling this. Let's think deeply about what's going on in our hearts and in our brains, and how we talk about that. Right.
So by way of example, when we talk about age appropriate things, a 4, 5, 6-year-old can struggle with a rebellious spirit. Like, they can struggle with knowing the boundaries, being obedient, and being respectful. Sharing openly with them that, hey, you know what? I struggle with that too. Like, I can struggle with being disrespectful to your mom in the way that I speak with her. So it's not just you, like, you 5-year-old see me discipline you, but I want you to know that I do that because I don't want you to struggle with this thing that I struggle with when you get older. And me disciplining you is designed to help you grow out of that so that you can be better than I am when you're old and married like I am.
Yeah, and I'm even talking to them about things that they're not struggling with. I'm just, not like let me give you my example, but I probably talk a lot more with my 15-year-old about things that are going on within me than I do with
Sure.
than I do with my 3-year-old. But, with my oldest, I'll tell him, man, I'm struggling with fear in this area and not giving this over to the Lord. And I know in my brain that the Lord is good and that he has this in control. But really, I know that, but I can't seem to walk that out and live that out. And I'll have those conversations
Sure.
with him, and it has nothing to do with anything he's going through. I'm just talking to him.
Yep.
And I think that helps to help. I think it helps for them to also unload at times when they feel like they want to.
Right. No, I think that's really good. So start young and have deep conversations with your kids. Invite that with your kids. Demand that your young boys open up, particularly to their mom, about things that are going on. Like, don't let them get away with how was school today? Goodbye. Tell them it's honoring of your mom to sit down and go into detail. She wants the details. Moms, even if you don't want the details, want the details. Because women, by and large, want the details. So even if you're one of those women, and I happen to be married to one, that doesn't particularly love all the details, she's really good about recognizing that in all likelihood, our boys' wives are going to want all the details someday. And so she's helping to train them up by dragging that out of them. At times, not always, but at times, instead of just going, good, I'm glad it was good, bye-bye.
And it helps them to, recognize I'm interested in what you're, not just listening to you, but I'm
Right.
interested in what's going on because I'm asking questions and
Right.
all that. Anyway.
Right. Men, do not allow yourself to get exhausted by your little girls wanting to
Jibber
give the
jabber.
report to build the rapport. Right? They're going to want to say in 1,000 words what could be said in 100 words. And at word 999, they better believe you're just as interested in what they're saying as you were at word 9. It's critical to their development that they know their daddy is deeply interested in what's going on in their lives. It's critical. And again, I'm starting kind of at the beginning to now jump into my second point, which is we're talking about having an adult conversation with an individual that is just on the cusp of moving from a child to a young adult. Is where it needs to be. If you're waiting until they're a young adult, I'm sorry, you've missed it. They already know everything that you have to say, and you've allowed someone else to frame the issue of sex in their minds. Even if you think your child is in a really sheltered community, even if you think your child's friends don't know anything about this either, they're going to understand things about sex before you want them to if you're going to wait until 14, 15, 16 plus to talk with them about sex. Don't do it. We had a child psychologist we spoke to at one point years ago. This is years ago. That said, most kids, even at 4, 5, 6, know and do act role play of oral sex because they have seen it suggested.
Did you come over the door?
I just literally walked in. Someone definitely was at the door.
It was not. I have not seen anyone down here since I just walked in.
Okay.
I have no idea where I was at when that happened.
Well, you were saying that
I
most
know.
kids at 4, 5, 6, just start over. Most kids at 4, 5, 6, I don't think most kids, but that kids at 4, 5, 6 can understand
I wouldn't say most of them do it, but they've been
and
exposed
role
to
play.
enough that they
what
know
you said
what
is
it
most
is.
kids understand and role play that.
Oh, okay, fine.
Just start over with like the we talk to a child psychologist. Okay.
Right. We talked to a child psychologist years ago, and this was years ago, that mentioned that because of the things that are just on in suggestive pictures in normal magazines, billboards,
Commercials.
media on TV, that kids are exposed to, things like someone standing up and then another adult's head like disappears off the bottom of the screen, and kids are not as stupid as we think they are, and they sort of figure out like
some of these things
some of these things that are going on, and that's at a super young age, let alone all the other situations that our kids as they get older are just exposed to in the West, whether it's the United States, Canada, Europe, any of our Western cultures that are just overtly sexual. And because of that, the age of children having sex for the first time, young people having sex for the first time, has gone down precipitously in the last decade. But even more concerningly than that, the average age that young people are exposed to pornography has dropped, just off of a cliff over the last 10 to 20 years, to the point where now the average age that a boy, and this might be a little bit dated because it's from a couple of years ago, but the average age that a boy is exposed to pornography is between ages 9 and 10. The average age that a girl is exposed to pornography for the first time is between ages 10 and 11. And more concerningly than that, parent that thinks that their kids would never get involved in that, overwhelmingly, well over 80% of the cases, those people were exposed to pornography for the first time without them intending to be exposed to pornography. Meaning they were just hanging out and somebody went, hey, look at this. And there it was. And they weren't meaning to, but pornography is like a lot of drugs. It can start this addictive tendency and behavior in a very short amount of time, which leads to all sorts of other things. So we need to be serious about talking to our kids young about sex. My personal belief is if the average age is between 9 and 10 for boys to be exposed to pornography, you should be having this conversation with your boys slightly before, if not right around age 9. For girls, they're exposed between 10 and 11, which means you should be having this conversation with your girls somewhere around, if not slightly before, age 10.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure that you're getting to set the narrative with regards to God's purpose for sex, what sex is in society around us, how we get it wrong, and allow your child to ask honest questions if they want to. If not right when you talk to them about this, then as they feel led after that. But if we don't be serious about building that relationship early, then when we go to broach this subject with our kids, there's going to be some dissonance there for them about, man, mom and dad never really speak to me about really serious stuff, and now they want to be all serious, and it's kind of weird. And you lose the message in the weirdness of the situation. So for me, and feel free in the comments to tell me all about how you think I'm wrong on this, and I'm happy to have some fun back and forth on this. I am a believer that when you talk to your kids about sex, you should not use other materials outside of the Bible. My personal opinion on this, kids are, if nothing else, they are fear detectors. And when we buy books to use or print articles to use or whatever, it immediately, I believe, puts our kids in this position of, why are mom and dad not comfortable enough to just talk to me about this? Like, we don't sit down with our kids and go like, hey, I'd like you to read through this 3-book series on cleaning your room. Like, we just go into our kids' room and go, this is a wreck. Clean this up. So when all of a sudden we need like this textbook to go through with them to talk about this, I think it immediately puts the conversation in this air of weirdness and discomfort. And I mean, I know all kinds of people that their memories of the birds and the bees conversation was my parents sat me down with some super bizarre book that like wouldn't just come out and say it and made all these analogies and references, and they don't end up walking away with the message about sex. They end up walking away with the weirdness of the situation. And that's not what we want. So talk to your kids young, and then here's how I would recommend that you do this. Start with, hey, well, first of all, make it an event, right? Like if your kids love ice cream, my kids love ice cream. So every time we do the sex conversation, there's ice cream, right? They get to stay up late. All the siblings go to bed. We break out the ice cream, and
It also gives a little bit of a distraction for
Right,
them.
'cause
Like
they're
they're eating
eating.
ice cream while we're talking. And so it gives a
Totally.
little bit of an icebreaker, distraction kind of.
totally. And then what I do is I start with the positive, right? Like, hey, tonight is kind of a big deal for your mom and I because we get to talk to you about something that's a really important part of what it means to be made in the image of God. And also for you, it's hard for mommy and I because this means you're growing up. And having this conversation with you, it's a grown-up conversation. And so we don't want to make it a joke, but we want to make it an encouraging thing for them to hear, right? Like this is, in a sense, we're letting you in on a secret of life that we've hidden from you up to this point, but tonight we're going to share it with you. And it kind of gets them zoned in on listening to you and also makes it like okay, I better handle this like an adult because this is an adult conversation. And then I start with the spiritual reality of it. So I go from the spiritual truth about sex to the anatomical reality about sex to what the how this matters for their life. So from a spiritual standpoint, I go right to the beginning to those verses, if you followed our channel for long, that talk about Adam and Eve, right? And Eve was taken from Adam and she was his mate and the two became one flesh. And so I start with just an understanding of marriage because for Andrea and I want this entire conversation about sex to be placed in its proper place, which is within the confines of marriage. So we start by just pointing out, hey, God created marriage. And then I go to, and God actually created a mechanism within marriage to fulfill the commandment he gave to Adam and Eve, which is be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. And so God provided a way for Adam and Eve to be obedient to him, and the way that he provided is called sex. Then I usually stop and say, have you heard about sex before? And if the answer to that's yes, talk to me a little bit about what you've heard. It helps me to understand where they're coming from that standpoint. And again, we try and get to our kids right on the front end of those ages. So far, the answer from Jackson was, well, yeah, I've heard the word, but I don't really know anything about that. And the other benefit about getting with your kids that young is they're too young to know to be embarrassed about it, to lie. Unless there has been abuse or something like that there, which is another reason why I ask it, because it presents an opportunity for you to look your children in the eye. And if they get squirrely or squirmy or shut down or start crying or any number of things, it's time to stop everything and go, okay, can you talk to me about what you're feeling? And just dig into that. And you may need to camp there for a long time if maybe your kids are a little bit older and maybe they've already been exposed to some sexually explicit material or something happened. And again, I'm when I'm speaking about this, guys, I'm not talking about this in the context of someone that has been sexually abused. Like that, this conversation needs to look really different if you're in that context. So please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm talking about a situation where, to the best of your knowledge, there isn't any of that complication of sexual abuse with the child that you're addressing this with. Assuming that there aren't any things you need to camp out on when you ask the question, have you heard about sex? Then I usually say, okay, this is the adult part. I'm just going to explain to you like how the body works with regards to sex. This is the part where you just have to take a deep breath and do it. Because this is the part where if you wait too long, you're going to have no credibility with your kids. Because you're talking about parts of their body, if you wait too long, that have become no longer innocent to them. Right? Like they realize like there's something about guy parts, there's something about girl parts. Even if they don't know exactly how it works, they know like, okay, something's up here.
And it's important too. So Nathan and I call things what they are from the get-go with our kids, right? Like our kids know the anatomically correct words and we use them.
Is a penis.
Right. For everything from the moment that they're born.
Right.
That's just what we call them.
Right.
So then when we're having these conversations with our kids, no one's embarrassed by the word penis, or vagina, or whatever, because that's what we call things.
Right.
So
That's
we're not
important.
saying, we're not using the cutesy words for what happens in sex. We're using the actual words, and we've been using them from the moment,
That's right.
moment they
It's a
could
good
talk.
Yeah.
So no one's embarrassed about it because they're just normal words in our house.
Right. Right. So I'm not going to go like necessarily into all the details, partly because this is posted up on several
Right.
sites and I don't want it to be taken down because I want people to be able to benefit from this. But I go through with a focus on kind of the detachment that just anatomy allows for us, right? It's not, daddy puts his, no,
Okay.
it's not that, right? It's the male has these organs and this is how these organs were designed by God to work. The female has these organs. This is how these organs were designed by God to work. And in sex, here's what happens with the male organs and here's what happens with the female organs. And this is important, then I follow that through to, and this is how that results in a baby. Because again, although if you've watched this channel for very long, Andrea and I are big believers in there are purposes for sex and marriage outside of procreation, but procreation is the primary reason why God gave us sex. And so I follow the anatomical discussion through to this is what happens, and this is how the egg and the sperm come together, and that's what creates the opportunity for God to give the spark of life to a baby. And I move through it at that kind of pace. I don't stop very often in the middle of that and ask like, do you have any questions? I want to get through that whole piece of it and then ask, okay, what are you thinking right now? And so far, that when I asked that question the last time, Jackson, who was really good
I hope he
about
doesn't mind us
sitting and listening,
posting this on the internet.
when I asked, do you have any questions? He had a real one I was not expecting, which was, remember, the activity we're doing while we're talking about this. He goes, Dad, when you turn your bowl upside down, why does the ice cream not fall out?
No, he was thinking about an ice cream cone. I remember he said, why when you get an ice cream cone at like Dairy Queen, do they turn it over and it doesn't fall out? Because of course when you turn your bowl upside down, it does.
Which is great.
Does the ice cream not fall off?
Right. That was his question. And Andrea
he was ready to move on.
Right. And Andrea and I both kind of, in reflecting on that, went, you know what? I think we got the timing of that right. Because he received the information. He sort of incorporated it into his psyche. And then he moved on.
And there were conversations subsequent conversations that happened at other times after that throughout the years. But for that night, he got it and he was fine to just move on. And he wasn't like, he didn't seem embarrassed by it. And he didn't seem like affected by that really much at all.
And I will say.
And he was just ready to be like, got it. All right. I'm good. And then there were definitely conversations after that we had.
You bet. I mean, we spent a decent amount of time talking with him at another date about pornography. because that's a serious thing, and how we want him to treat that. Like, hey, if you're exposed to this, come talk to me about it. If these kinds of situations come up, come talk to us about it, and kind of what those conversations would look like. And he was in the other room here earlier, so I don't know if he's still listening in on this or not. But I will say I'm super proud of him, because even to this day, he doesn't get weird about sexual conversations, right? Like, there are times, this will surprise all of you that watch our channel regularly. There are times when I make suggestive comments and
like
jokes
every day
to Andrea. Not every day.
every day
And I don't care
in
who's
front
around.
of the
like,
kids.
Yeah, like not we're not
It's
talking
not
nothing
gross.
I mean, it's stuff that goes over all of their heads except one now. Who catches on, and a lot of times he either rolls his eyes or he just goes, makes some joke about getting a room.
It's not gross.
Or
It's like, you need to go in the back room and get this, and Nathan's like, I'd like to take you in the back room.
Exactly.
It's
That's
stuff like
a great
that.
example, and I would like to take you in the back room.
But all of our kids, yes, the rest of them, they have no idea what is even said, really.
Right, but they'll get to an age where they will, and it's.
But Jackson will chuckle and roll his eyes, or be like, whatever,
Right.
So,
right.
yeah, and then with girls. So, sorry, let me back up. With guys, particularly, but guys and girls, you need to have that conversation of pornography.
Yep.
After you have the sex conversation.
100%.
After, by whatever time you think, definitely before they're reaching those teen years, but after a little ways, you need to have that conversation with boys and girls, and
would be fine.
And part of that is for them to understand the dangers of it, what it is, and also how you can kind of accidentally be shown that or stumble into that. Sure. And why being so careful about the internet is important. Why, right. I mean, we've had those conversations with Jackson about why we're so careful with what about devices and all that stuff. So that it he understands. So we have those conversations. Then for the girls, we need to be talking about, safety.
Right.
And as they get older, why we need to be careful about who we're meeting up with and who we're around. And
yeah, can I just pause for a second?
Yeah.
When you talk about safety, you're not talking about STIs and pregnancy.
Yeah.
That's not the conversation. The
No.
safety conversation is like, hey, Ryan, do you understand now? Ryan's our daughter's name. Do you understand now why, when we're at an airport, I follow you to the restroom and I wait right outside the door until you come back out?
Yeah, and all these are hard conversations because you're sort of breaking down their worldview. And
the world becomes dangerous.
It does. And for me, the sex conversation is hard, not because I have any problems talking about that, but because I know that it's going to change their view of life.
Yeah,
and
you're taking away
you're taking away a piece of innocence.
Intentionally removing a piece of innocence from your child, which is hard. And I think it's why a lot of Christian parents can rightfully struggle with that. The problem is we don't live in an innocent world.
Right.
Like, as a result of sin, we don't.
Right.
And we can stick our head in the sand and just ignore that, or we can go, you know what? Sadly, my child's innocence is going to be destroyed in this area, but man, I want to be the one to tactfully, lovingly do it before some other idiot brings it crashing down around them.
Yeah. So we've got to be talking about those things, safety. We've also got to be talking about, unfortunately, talking about things like we never send body pictures to people.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Ever. Unless it's your spouse. You never, ever do that. All of these things that we need to be thinking about, talking to our kids about, that we didn't have to deal with. They're dealing with them, and they're real things that are happening with kids and teens. every day.
Yeah. If I
So-
can just add a thing onto that, I would even really caution your daughters from sending, and sons, but primarily daughters, from sending even clothed pictures to another guy. Because bottom line, we live in an AI infused age, and ChatGPT and Gemini and all the rest can do a lot of things, even with a clothed picture.
yeah.
So it just feels like that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, all of the internet safety things, we need to be having lots of conversations about that, and with our guys and girls talking about this sounds crazy, but not being a predator.
100%.
I know that sounds crazy, but hormones can get the better of some kids, and I don't think they even realize how they're coming across sometimes. And so how do we not become kind of a predator or just somebody who's taking advantage?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's good.
hard conversations, but necessary
Yeah.
with the way the world is.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Well, we are over time, so I'm going to bring this episode to a close. Although I want to extend a special invitation. If you leave a comment to a video, or if you don't want to be public about it, DM us on Instagram or Facebook. Feel
We're on
free
Instagram?
to send us an email. Wow. Feel free to send us an email at marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com. We respond to every comment and every email that we receive. So if you have questions about this, if you just want prayer,
Clearly, if
about
it's on
this,
Instagram,
that
Nathan is
you're
the one
going,
responding.
that's right. That you're going, that you're going through. Please feel free, but do reach out to us anytime. We're here as a resource for you. But man, let's get this right so that we can raise a generation of young people that are not afraid of sex, but also are willing to stand up for what God-honoring sex looks like from the very beginning. And that's on us as parents. Guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode. As always, we appreciate you being here. Love to have you subscribe, like this video and subscribe. Click the bell icon so that you're automatically notified when new material comes out. Until next time, remember, God is for your marriage.
Thanks so much for listening. We just wanted to say, if you have a comment, a question, something that you're struggling with or need prayer, please reach out to us. You can get a hold of us by emailing marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com, or of course you can comment on any of our social media and we will get back to you. But if you have something private, feel free to email us. We're personally respond to you.
That's right. And we do respond to every comment that we receive, either through our website, through YouTube, through our social medias, which leads me to feel free to pop over to our website, marriagebydesignpodcast.com. You can leave comments on any of our videos through that site. We would love to be able to connect with you, but please don't hesitate to reach out. Even if you just need prayer, you need someone to hear what you're going through, we're here for the Marriage by Design community, so feel free to reach out anytime. Until then, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.